I mentioned before, CCSD has been a powerful and important partner for our college. Joining us this morning to share his vision for the future of education in this incredibly unique and complex landscape is Clark County School District's new Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Jesus Jara. Bear with me. See, that was a teaser, right? That's pretty good. Since being appointed to this critical role in June of this year, Dr. Jara has pledged to accelerate the work at CCSD, such as growth in the graduation rate, advanced placement participation, and the expansion of magnet programs, among others, all with a focus on student achievement. Dr. Jara served public school students for over 20 years before joining us in Las Vegas. Most immediately prior to coming to CCSD, he served as the Deputy Superintendent for Orange County Public Schools in Florida for 6 years. As Deputy Superintendent, he functioned as the Superintendent's primary designee. He oversaw 5 area superintendents and the Division of Teaching and Learning, including all programs from early childhood to adult education. With his assistance, Orlando's achievement gap narrowed faster than 90% of major cities across the United States. Quite an accomplishment. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome to the stage Dr. Jesus Jara.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, am I on? Okay, good morning. Well, thank you, Dean Metcalf, for the introduction. It's my honor and pleasure to be here to really share a little bit of some of the areas of where we're going to head, and I'll wait until the PowerPoint comes on so we can start really talking a little bit about some of what I've been up to in the last 6 months. But before I get started, I'd like to introduce I think I have 4 of my 7 bosses who are here. Trustee Edwards. I'm losing you. Trustee Cavazos. Trustee Brooks. And Trustee Child, who's in the back. So I'm going to tell you, it's been a whirlwind for me in the last 5 months. Just having an opportunity to meet this great community. And, you know, to me, it's been a warm welcome. It's been just phenomenal. And I continue to really get excited about where we're going as a community, as a district, with parents, teachers, support staff, administrators, business community, nonprofit, and again, UNLV and all our partners in higher ed. It's really, really been an honor. And when you really think about a little bit, I'll tell you a little bit about some of our data and some of the things that I've learned since I've been here. I still think that we have, I believe, the best community, and we're going to do some great things in this school system. But when you really think about the population of students that we serve in an urban school system, it just continues to energize me, because as we serve 320,000 children, we have 42,000 employees. But our children come to us from over 158 different countries, speaking over 78 different languages. 68% of our children are free and reduced lunch. We serve and have the honor to serve 15,000 of our students who are homeless. But let me say this, you will never hear from me or anybody in my administration that those are barriers. Because when all the adults in this community rally around our kids will accomplish great things. Because we have some kids that are homeless but are gifted. And we have some of the most affluent families that have children that are experiencing some educational challenges. So that's why I always say it's a beautiful tapestry in this community that I am proud to serve as their superintendent. As we move into a new legislative session, a new era of accountability nationally, we have to accelerate what we're doing in our classrooms every single day. So as I visited and walked over 150 schools with my deputy and my staff, because to me it's critical to know what's going on in our classrooms. It doesn't happen, the magic really doesn't happen in my office. It happens in the classroom every single day. So let me see if I know where I'm going here on this. It's not on yet. Okay, there we go. The center of our work is student success. You look at the circle, teachers, principals, and staff are there to support our classrooms. We have to have a coherent governance structure, myself with the trustees, and certainly sound fiscal management for us to be able to do the work that we need to do for our students. And again, our parents and our community. I gave you the numbers, 321,000 students, 42,000 employees. There's not enough of us in this community, in our schools. So we need our entire community to help us achieve the great things that we're going to achieve. So we have to accelerate. And some of the things that I've said coming in, it's the acceleration because there's some great things happening. We have pockets of excellence. What we need is a school system of excellence for every single student. Not just those in magnets, not just those in the suburbs. Every single student that we serve deserves a high quality education every single day for 180 days a year. So we've made some great gains. Our NAEP scores, Nationals report card, we've improved. When you really look at it as we're compared to other urban districts, see, and I look at nationally how we compare to the Houstons, to Miami, to Chicago, to New York. When you start looking at where we are as the 5th largest district in the country, how do we compare? We're not where the paper says we are. Are we satisfied with where we are? I'm not. But we have been moving in the right direction. We just have to accelerate so every single student has an opportunity for success. And I'll continue there's going to be a theme on accountability. And I said this to the board, you hold me accountable and we'll deliver. Because I'll hold my team accountable to deliver for our students. So let me tell you a little bit about some things that have changed in education in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And, you know, as I look at what we're doing, what's happening in America in education, so there's been a choice movement. I'm not going to battle and be the anti-choice because I gave my kids in public schools the choice in a traditional public school. And I look at this and I say, well, you know, we can all remember when we went to the grocery store and we only had 2 choices, right? Whole milk and skim milk, right? Now you go, there's 2%, 1%, skim milk, whole, soy, coconut, almond, pecan, right? But here's the reality. Everybody is held to the same standard. And that's what I'll work for. Hold me accountable. hold us all accountable to the same standards, and we will compete. But let's not have different rules. Hold us all accountable to the same standards and give us the same flexibility, and we will be the number one choice for our students in this community. So the last 5.5 months, I was counting, June 19th was my first day. So I've met with 125, I've had 125 community meetings. I've visited over 150 schools. And it shows you a little bit of the pie. Actually, I had an opportunity last week on Friday. I had an opportunity to go out to Laughlin, Nevada, spent the day. I've been to Moapa Valley, Mesquite, because it was important for me to know what this community wanted for their school system. Yeah, I've worked in a great team that we had a lot of success, but you just don't pick up the things you're doing and bring them here. I was a principal in Massachusetts. You just don't pick up what you learn. You put it in your toolbox, but then it's about what this community wants for our children. So it was important for me to listen to the community. And then we start putting together our plan moving forward. I've been to 1-star, 2-star, 5-star schools. I've been to our magnets. And I've seen some phenomenal instruction in some of our schools where they are serving 100% free and reduced lunch students and where they're defying the odds for kids. Great teachers and great principals doing the great work for our students. So one of the things that coming in, I knew it was critical that we had an employee morale challenge, an opportunity. It's been critical for me to listen to our employee unions, our teachers, our support professionals, our police, our administrators, to really get a clear understanding of some of the direction of where we were going. It was important for this board to settle with a little bit of money we had to settle agreements. Because we have to be together as we're getting ready for legislative session. So for the first time in over a decade, we have all 5 bargaining units under contract. Some of the other things I learned from our teachers and principals, that our evaluation system, we were spending more time documenting and putting things on the shelf. That was really taking time away from what's a real work of providing honest feedback to improve instruction. So some of our principals with the Public Ed Foundation put together a waiver that we then pushed it to the state, and at the last state board meeting it was approved and we were granted a waiver from the old evaluation system. Again, listen to your employees. So now, as a matter of fact, next month, our administrator's evaluation system is going to change as well. So then we spend time giving the honest feedback to drive instruction instead of spending time putting together paperwork that we put in the shelf and do nothing with. So it's important that now the 16 other school systems in Nevada will be adopting the evaluation tool that our principals and our teachers put together. So we're really excited about that. So what am I learning? What have I learned in the last 5.5 months? That, like I said, we have a great education system for some kids. So let's just be honest. It needs to be for all children. When I say all, I mean all kids, all 321,000 students. Because every kid that comes to our schools deserves a high-quality education every single day. We need to improve our teaching and learning working conditions for our teachers. We need to invest in our educators. Our class sizes are way too large. Our instructional materials. And when I say instructional materials, it's not just textbooks. It's a scope and sequence. It's support programs. I can't have in 2018-19 teachers purchasing materials on the website on Teacher Pay Teacher. We have to invest in instructional materials for our teachers so it's aligned to the standards. As the state has improved, rightfully so, raised the bar, we need to provide the resources for our educators. We must build the public trust, loud and clear. The community does not trust CCSD. So we need to do that. We need to work hard, and we are doing it. That's why we've had 2 board retreats. We'll talk a little bit about that. We have our 3rd one in January. Is really building a governance structure that works with a superintendent that manages the organization as the CEO and the board as policymakers. And we must provide a safe learning and working environment. Our children need to feel safe, and our educators need to feel safe coming to work. So, central office efficiencies. So I'll say this, when you really look at it, everybody's got this perception that the central office is bloated. It's really not. But since my arrival, with the board support, we froze all central office hires. The only folks that have been hired are only those that impact the classroom and impact the schools. I just released last week a reorganization that is really going to drive the consistent message to our schools and to our classrooms. Broke up the system into 3 different regions, put 2 school associates underneath to drive the message and support for schools and teachers. In the savings, we've saved $3.5 million. But it's not about putting it in the bank. It's about reallocating it for some of the things that I just talked about. Instructional materials, a common assessment, that teachers can use consistent data across the board. I can't have teachers creating their own assessments, because then we can't see some of the things that we're doing as a school system. And I think some of these things will help us build the public trust with this community. So we need to get into a conversation around changing really the mindset of what our kids can do. We need to think about, in our 49 high schools, the options. To me, our kids, and I used to say that when I was a high school principal, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? My job is to help make sure that you are ready. If you're ready for the workforce, great. If that's what you want, you're ready for the military, I'm going to help you. If you're ready to go to a 4-year, that's great, 2-year. You should have choices. And now, in order to go into the workforce, you better be able to read at high levels and think critically. It's not, what I used to say, it's not your old grandfather's tractor anymore. Because if you look at A car now, it's a computer. Our kids need to be able to think. So we need to get into changing the paradigm. So what you'll see here is, right, college, everybody thinks college or university is a steak, right? And vocational was a hamburger, right? It was for those kids that were not college material. What we need to think about, and I'll give credit to my CTE executive from Orlando, but he said, it's steak and lobster. It needs to be steak and lobster. So we can move into where we are the number one choice for all students. What do I think? I'm going to tell you, when we finalize our strategic plan and have the team ready to go, I believe in 5 years, we can be the number one urban school system in the country. For every single student. I believe that we can be the school system in Nevada that we will not have any 1 or 2 star schools. I also believe that we can have a graduation rate over 90% with college and readiness diplomas. Let's be honest, the board has pushed me and challenged me and my team to address the credit recovery, because when we graduate kids and we're giving a kid a diploma, they can walk into UNLV, CSN, Nevada State College, and not go into a remedial course. I also believe that we can increase our advanced placement, our IB, our career technical, and our dual enrollment. We have plenty of students and plenty of choices. That means we have to do more work in our middle schools, because AP, IB, dual enrollment, and CTE is not for the elite. It's for those that we will prepare in middle school. That means we have to do a better job in elementary school getting them ready for Algebra 1 and geometry while they're in middle school, so they can get to calculus while they're in high school, so they can graduate with 20 credits or 15 credits, because that impacts the economy, that impacts our families. And these are the things that are happening in other parts. These are the things that are happening in our private schools. We can do the same thing. We need to move quickly for all our students. And as I say to my team, hold me accountable. I know the board's going to hold me accountable. I'm going to hold them accountable to deliver. So, where do we go? Where do we go this legislative session as a school system? We need to invest in our staff and our students. We need to have more adults on our campuses. Let the principals decide where do they need to be. But we need more counselors, more social workers, more teachers. But let the principals make some of those decisions. We need to incentivize to recruit and retain, not just recruit, to retain teachers in our Title I with our most vulnerable children. Because our children are facing adult issues and adult challenges. So we need to provide the support. We need to fund professional development for teachers and for administrators around research-based, not just what we think, research-based that's proven to be successful in other parts of this country. And again, as I say, a safe learning and working environment. I always use, I'm a baseball fan, and I always use and think about the weights that we need to really think about our kids. And it's okay that some kids cost more to educate. It's not an excuse, it's the reality. So why is that important? Because in 1 year, everybody has to get to home plate. There's some kids that come to us, and we know this. There's kids that come to us and they're at third base. They only have to get to home plate. We have kids that come to us, they're on first base. We have some kids that are in the dugout, and some kids that are in the parking lot, and we have to get them to home plate. So we have to update our funding formula. Last week, I know Senator Woodhouse and I, we were in the same study, and I think it was where there's only 2 states in the country that have a similar funding formula. It's Nevada and Nebraska. Our funding formula from 1967, I think President Johnson, I think Clark County and the state of Nevada looked a little bit different than it does today. Our kids are a little bit different. And that's okay. So we need to update the funding formula. Because some of the things that we have been trying to do, and I appreciate the effort, it's really dancing around the edges. We've put categoricals here, try to put some more money, and I get it, there was lack of trust. I understand. We've reorganized the district. AB 469 came decentralized with still the same amount of money. We've made technical changes and tried to do the adaptive work, and it hasn't worked. And it's time that we invest in the work for our children. So we have a lofty agenda. You know, and earlier when I kicked off the year with our principals and our administrators, we shared a message about uncommon goals. We have to reach for the stars. Our kids need to dream, and we need to provide the space for them to dream so they can come back and invest in our community. We are, I believe, the economic engine of Southern Nevada. Because as businesses come, they ask, how are your schools doing? And when our kids graduate, they need to be ready to go into higher ed, ready for college-bearing courses, not remedial courses. They need to go into the workforce. There's plenty of work. Into high-skilled jobs, into the workforce to work as an electrician, a welder, a plumber. Those are high-skilled jobs. A mechanic. We need to graduate our kids ready for whatever they want to do. Again, thank you very much for having me here, and thank you for coming. I still have time? Questions?
I'm Angie Sullivan. I teach at one of your schools. I love all your ideas. I'm really worried because I'm calculating all those things up in my mind, and they're close to a $2 billion ask. I love that I come every year to these meetings and people have great ideas. I have to be frank to the policymakers and the people in this room. Show me the money. We need to be united as a community to advocate for our kids and to get that $2 billion that we need into our district to double what you have been clearly outlining. We all know what works. We need to advocate for our kids. And we need to be willing to have that hard ask to get the $2 billion to improve what is going on. Teachers, frankly, cannot do it alone. You put something on our plate, something has to come off. We want our kids to succeed, but we cannot work more than 14 hours a day buying our own supplies. The people in this room need to stand up for us and stand up for our kids. We need to have real ideas about how to get money down to the classroom level where it actually shows up. I don't mind working my heart out. I don't mind advocating for everybody who cannot advocate for themselves. But I need the grown-ups in this room to pay the bills.
Thank you.
Good morning, Superintendent Jara. Is that on?
It's good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Terry Janison, and first of all, thank you for stepping up to the challenge, because I know this is not an easy job, sir, so God bless you. I've heard, and accountability is always a term that I used as well. Can I ask you to just go maybe a little deeper? When you say that you want to be held accountable and you're going to hold other people accountable, can you give us what some of those details, what that might look like?
That's a great question. Thank you. So the last two, I've been working with the Council of Great City Schools, which is an organization that we are a member of, 74 urban districts across the country. And their executive director, Dr. Mike Hasserly, has come with the board, has come to us and really get into a conversation around governance. But then also at the last meeting, my board, started identifying student achievement goals that then will be what we will use to hold me, and as they will do their evaluation of their superintendent, whether I meet the goals or not. So we are in the process right now of creating a strategic plan that we will be releasing mid-January with very targeted goals for student achievement, for operations, for finance, for community engagement, and for HR. Once I release that, and we will make that very public, it will be where the board will evaluate me, how I'm meeting those goals or not. And then they will have their accountability, which then what I'm doing, my entire executive cabinet will be held accountable to make sure that we meet all our goals. Great question. And if I can go further, so if there's no other questions, if I can go further, it would be within all our principles, right? When you really look at our evaluation of our schools, it will be principals, their goals, and how they meet the district's goals, right? So those are some of the things that then we will have the accountability all the way down to the principal and then down to the classroom teachers. Yes, ma'am.
I agree with you that the most important way that we improve education is getting that right person in front of that classroom. What are we doing to make sure that we entice people, right people, to get into education and to be in front of those kids? That's our success.
Great question. What are we doing to entice to get the right people in front of the classroom? So we're doing a few things. Right now, we're building. I'm building a relationship. I know that UNLV has had a long-standing relationship with CCSD, as we're really looking at building that teacher pipeline to get in the classrooms. We're also looking at. I know we have the teacher academies as well. We have to do a better job as a country in public education, because the reality is, with the narrative that's out there, folks don't want to go into education. So then we have to then build our own. So we do have the academies that we have in our schools right now, where students start taking some of their classes while they're in high school into our teacher pipeline. Really working together with CCEA for me has been really important, critical for the success, because then how do we support teachers? Investing, that this is part of the investment in staff, professional development, because the reality is that we do have teachers that stay, and I always say, they stay with the right leader, no matter where they are. So how do we then invest in our principals as well to make sure that we support our classroom teachers? So those are some of the things that we're doing now. A little bit more granular is that where do we go recruit? Right? I mean, we're looking at, are we going to recruit to states that we're not getting a return on investment for folks? Yeah, they come for 1 year and then they leave. So we're trying to analyze that as well, so then start recruiting in places where we have seen a return on investment, where teachers are staying here with us. So it's a comprehensive, and again, it's something that my chief of staff is including in her goals that we'll be releasing to the board in January.
Good morning, Dr. Jara. Zahn Okuda Lim, Director of Policy and Analytical Leadership at the Public Education Foundation. I want to ask a question about this topic of school funding. You heard the comment from the teacher earlier about this. I recall a year ago when I was in high school being involved in that fight against budget cuts, and at the time, during the recession, the question was really about stopping the bleeding when we were cutting 200, 300 million plus a year from public education and from higher education as well. Recently, we've seen the number stabilize through the courage from our governor and our state legislature. Today, the Nevada Economic Forum is meeting, so it'll be exciting to see what numbers they come out with. But my question is, you talk about revising our funding formula. It's a big topic of conversation among the board and folks here in the room. What are some specific action items or ideas you would like the incoming legislature and the new governor to look at in terms of how to revise our funding formula to best serve the needs of today's students and tomorrow's students? Thank you.
That's a great question, Zahn, and I'll tell you, looking at, I think the weighted funding formula is something that, what does that look like? And actually, in part of the consultants that the state has hired, I think one of the recommendations, if I'm not mistaken, Senator Woodhouse, was to start over. To start over, maybe we start with a blank sheet of paper and start over, because I think it's trying to revise may just be too difficult. But I think we have to also see where there's been success as well. So you have to be careful if you start over, because there's things that we have put in place as a state and as a system that have been working. So it's how do, I would say the first thing is, where is it working, what are we doing, and then how do we then start adding weight to the students as they come into that formula. But I'll be honest, and I said this too, and I know I have to wrap up, as I said to my colleagues across the state, my priority is Clark County Public Schools. My priority is the 321,000 students I serve. That's what I was hired for, and the children that are under this school system. Because right now, the formula is not working for us. Right now, it's not working for the 321,000 students that we serve. So I just wanted to say that, to that question, I don't know where the state is. I know that State Superintendent and I, we've had conversations really around adding weights for the students to start with, but then also looking at what the cost would be. And how we get there is going to be what we have to navigate in Carson City this legislative session. Again, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.